Hello everyone. Today I'm going to try out the Tulip Creative Computer in a multi-timbral mode. I'm going to be doing this with the actual hardware later on, but first, to explain what I'm doing, it will be easier to show you on the online emulator. So I've got the page open here, and I'll open the Creative Computer sort of emulator or page. So when we get on here, we've got a try Tulip on the web option. So I'll select that, and there's a step I haven't done. I've got an Electron 2 sequencer set up, so you can have MIDI in and MIDI out connected to that. So this opens up with the normal prompt here, and I'll try and show you. I'll just have to move this across. Down in this right hand corner, you have an option you can open. You can also do this from the command line, but I'll just show you here. And we've got an option here that is voices, so I'll select that and we'll see this panel open. I'll just move the window back to the side. So we've got various options here that I'll show you in a minute. I'll just show you the setup I'm using. So just make that larger. At the moment I've got an Arturia Keystep 37 connected via MIDI into the Electro 2. Then I've got the Electro 2 connected to a PC via this cable, and that's what's being detected in the window that I just showed you. I've got the Electribe 2. It has the Hack Tribe firmware installed, so it allows you to do MIDI through, and hopefully later on I can use it for multi-timbral operation. So I'll just minimize this window now and show you what I'm doing on the interface. So I've just minimized that. Yeah, that should do. So at the moment the interface is opened with channel 1 Juno 6 and it's A11 brass set 1 here, and the polyphony is set to 6 at the moment. I may change that later on, especially when I'm using the hardware, because I'm not sure about the polyphony. So the online emulator will do most of the things that the hardware does, and this is the actual hardware here. I'll fire it up in a little while when I go on to trying this sort of stuff out with the hardware. I think the main thing that it can't do is CV out, that you can do on the hardware if you add an external digital to analog converter. So I've mentioned that we've got MIDI in and MIDI out on the emulator. So if you've got an external keyboard, you can drive it. If you've got an external sequencer, you should be able to drive it as well. So I've said in the voices you've got various options. So we've got various voices, various synths as well here. We've got a Juno 6, a DX7, we've got miscellaneous here, which I think is a piano. I'll just click on it. Yeah, it's a piano. We've got custom. I don't know. I think you can store in your own voices here with patches, but I haven't really tried this out yet. So you should be able to design patches from the command line and store them here, but I've got to investigate that. So I'll go back to the Juno 6. And with this as well, you can also assign a patch per MIDI channel. So we've got the MIDI channels up on the left hand side, so I can assign various things here. We'll just look at voice 1 at the moment and I'll see if that works. So if you look down at the small window, I've got the Arturia key step set to MIDI channel 1 at the moment. It should be forwarded on the through channel through the Electribe, so I should be able to play it on this keyboard. I should also be able to play it on the Electribe keyboard as well. So I'll just try this out and see if we get anything out of it. So right, I'll just up the octave as well on this. So this is the brass set one, and I should be able to play it on here as well if I change it to keyboard mode. Yeah, so we've got that there. So we should be, with this setup, we should be able to assign different channels to different voices and have a multi-timbral setup. So I don't know how many channels you can go up to here. We can go up to 16 channels. I'll just do a demo and try out 4 of them. And we can also have arpeggiators that I won't be using here, and I think I've found out it was only working on channel 1, but that could be something I was doing wrong. So I don't know the polyphony capabilities of the hardware that I'll use later on, so there may be some glitching, voice stealing, but I'll see what happens with that. I've said about the option for the arpeggiator, so I'm going to try it out, and I've said about the setup that I've using. So I've got the Arturia key step into the Electribe, and then that out into the PC. And you should be able to select, if you've got a different MIDI input device, you should be able, it should detect it if it's I think it's MIDI compliant, MIDI USB compliant, and you should be able to detect it and show it on the emulator. So I should be able to sequence multi-timbral voices. Obviously, if you've just got a mono-timbral sequencer, you'll have to change the channels to work with different voices here. So I'm going to try out now setting up different voices per channel, and then I'll do a quick sequence probably just to see what it's like. So I'll leave that on channel 1. On channel 2 I'll try and put some kind of bass on there. So I've selected channel 2. I'll select a DX7 for channel 2. Then you should be able to scroll through the voices. I'll try a bass here, and I'll change just on the Arturia key step, I'll change the octave. One thing to remember, you have to assign a polyphony to it. So as it's a bass, I'll just use one voice here, and I'll change the channel, and I'll see if anything comes out. So we've got a sort of DX7 bass there. I'll try it out and change it to bass 2 to see if that's any different. Right, that should be alright, so I'll leave that there. I'll add another channel now, and I don't know how this will work. I've got a sequence set up on the Electrode, but I don't know how these voices will work. You know, if I select a pad, it might not even sound on the Electrode because it'll be too fast for the pad to evolve. So I'll just set up another voice. I'll probably use all sort of like quite, I'll probably put a lead on here. I'll try Juno 6 for channel 3. I'll do 2 notes of polyphony, and I'll try and find something here that looks interesting. I'll try the organ one there and see what that sounds like. So we're on channel 3 now, so I'll change that on the Arturia. I'll up the octave. Right, so we've got that there. One thing to be aware of as well, that I'll probably say later on as well, is that some of the voices are louder than others, so check them carefully, and sometimes I've had them overloading the interface on the PC. It's just to be aware of that, and when you're using the hardware as well. So I've set that up on channel 3. Another thing to be aware of is I don't know on the hardware and the emulator how to alter the volume. I think you can do it in the hardware from a simple command from the command line, but that might be per voice on the sort of built-in synthesizer, and I'll have to investigate that further as well. So I'll set up one more voice on this, so I'll go to channel 4 here, MIDI channel 4, and I'll do another Juno 6. Another thing I've noticed when I've been using the hardware is when you scroll up and down in the hardware, it's slightly glitchy. It isn't as smooth as on the interface, and I don't know if that works in the voices mode and the Juno 6, or that happens in the voices mode and the Juno 6 mode, but it isn't really a problem. I'll just try a lead on this one anyway. Got lead 3, and I'll have 2 voices of polyphony there as well. I'll change the MIDI channel again on the key step to channel 4. We'll have a look. So I don't think they're the nicest sounds at the moment, but you can tune them quite a bit, especially if you're using the Juno 6 application on here that I've shown in a previous video anyway. So now with the keyboard function here, I should be able to scroll across and play different things. So we're on channel 1 at the moment. I'll just increase the window size. So at the moment we're on channel 1, so I'll see what happens. Go to channel 2. Go to channel 3. So we've got multi-timbral, and I'll see if that works on a sequence. It could end up crashing because I've overloaded it, but hopefully not. Right, so I've got a sequence set up on here. I'll start it running and I'll bring in each part individually and see what happens. I don't even know if I've got bits on each of the parts, so I'll just check. So we go to sequencer. Seems to be something on part 1, part 2 seems to have something, part 3 seems to have something, and part 4. So we might get something out of it. I'm not promising that it will sound any good at all, because I haven't been setting it up. So I'll go to part mute and we'll start this off and see what happens. So I need to unmute. So that's part 1. That's part 2. That's part 3. That's part 4. I'll try them all together and see if it can cope with it. And unfortunately, I'll just turn these off a minute. At the moment, because I haven't got this connected into a mixer or anything, I can't use the drums on this to add to it. I think by default, if you send something to MIDI channel 10, it has some drum samples in set up. So you get a sort of you can use it as a drum machine. There is also a drum machine on the device as well. So that's about it for the first part of this video. What I'm going to do next is try and set this up in a multi-timbral mode and try and do a sort of jam along with a real Juno 6, which is sitting over there somewhere. So I'll try and do that and set this up with something that sounds a bit nicer in multi-timbral mode, and I'll see how the actual hardware can handle it. So thanks for watching this bit, and then what I'll be doing is setting this up in a very similar manner. So yeah, I'll be setting this hardware up in a very similar manner and just see what happens. Right. Right, so following on from the previous bit of video, I've now set the actual hardware up here in a sort of multi-timbral mode. I've got a pattern sort of set on here, and I've got a setup including a real Juno 6 as well. So the setup here at the moment is the Arturia key step is going into the Electribe 2 on MIDI. Then the Electribe 2 is coming out into a 10-way MIDI through box, which goes to other synths and that. And then this at the moment is coming out into the Tulip board running Amysynth. You might just see here, I'm not going to move it because the cables might drop out, but it's actually set up in the voice mode at the moment. So what I'm going to try and do is start off the sequence and see if I get anywhere with it. I've also got at the moment, if you see over here, I've got the Juno 6 set up, and at the back this connector is for the arpeggiator clock in on the Juno 6, and then that's going out and it's going into the sync out, or the sync out port is going into the from the Electribe is going into the Roland arpeggiator clock in, so it should have it sort of sequenced or synced to the Electribe 2S, which is acting as the master clock. So I'll set this off and see what sounds we sort of get out of it. So at first it's going to be just the Amysynth running on the Tulip board here, and I haven't really tweaked any of the sounds or anything, so it might sound a bit squeaky and that, but we'll see if it works anyway. And then after that I'll bring in and see if I can do anything on the arpeggiator on there. So here goes. So that's just with the Tulip synth, and there's drums from the Electribe as well. So I'll try out the arpeggiator on the Juno 6 now. Just see if I can move the filter, because I can't, and change some of the voices in a minute on the Tulip board. So that's sweeping the filter with the pitch bender that is over there, you can see. Right. So one thing I've noticed on the Tulip synth as it stands, or the Tulip board, and I'm guessing this will happen on the Amyboard as well, is it's set up, it will receive some control messages. So if I turn the volume up and down on the elect tribe, it will correspond on here. So I haven't worked out how to disassociate that at the moment, but I'll have a look at it in probably another video or something, or I will have worked it out by then. I'll try and change some of the voices on here, or use some of the different channels so you can see what voices I've got set up. So this is channel 1, and I'll just change that to something. I'll see if I can find a bass to go on this. Right, I'll just have a look. That's a bass clarinet. There's a synth bass here. So that's on channel 1. Channel 2, I don't quite know what that is. I'll change that to another Juno 6 patch. Right, and they're all set up to 2 notes polyphony at the moment. Try that. I'll try lead 2. I'll leave it at that at the moment. Right, so that's channel 3. I'll change it to another Juno 6 patch. That's a 45 Koto. I'll just turn the volume down and see. So if you see here, if you can hear okay, I can adjust the volume with volume control for the channel on the elect tribe. Not sure if I like that. I'll try this. That's a bit better. And I'll just check what. So that's another Juno 6 patch, but I'll change that and then I'll just see what it sounds like, and that'll be the end of the video then. No, that's a timpani. I mean, there's a synth pad, but I don't think that'll work with this particular track. It's a repeater, I don't know what that does. I'll leave it at that a minute and see. I'll turn the volume down on the repeater one a bit. And I'll just try the Juno out again, and that'll be it then. Just put that on the hold. Right, I'll just turn the hold off on that. So that's it for the moment. I hope it's given you some idea of my setup and just how the Tulip synth or Amysynth on the Tulip Creative Computer works. It was actually better than I thought. Sometimes I've had some crashes on it, but I think what I'll end up using it for is without the screen on or with the Amyboard when I get it. And when I get the Amyboard through, you can connect them both, the Amyboard to the Tulip board, and then get extra voices and use the Tulip board to control the Amyboard. So I might try that out and just have the Amyboard dedicated. So I hope you liked the video anyway, and if you get a chance, please like and subscribe. So thanks for watching, and bye.